majority of my comments from the December 12th meeting were not included. And three references I think should be. Number one, I made reference to the 2018 Village Marketing Campaign to attract young singles and couples from Chicago, citing more space, good schools, affordable economy, and housing, among others, and the convenience of commuting. Number two, my exchange with the applicant's representative who requested information I had read and drawn off the internet earlier that afternoon. In the past, this type of exchange was noted. And three, I made a comparison to the Homewood affordable rental housing market. Those are the only comments I have.
Okay. Now, would someone like to make a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Member O'Brien, do we have
Second it.
second member Cap. Roll call.
Member Alfonso,
Abstain.
member Bransky,
Yes.
member Cap,
Yes.
member O'Brien,
Yes,
member Castaneda,
Abstain.
Chair Zuniga.
Yes. Okay, first case is case number 2503. The way we conduct our meetings is if you're a petitioner, we're gonna have you come up to the podium. We're gonna have you state your name and address for the record and swear you in as all testimony is taken under oath. And if anybody's in the audience has a question, we're gonna ask them to state their name and address. They could stay where they're at. And we will also swear them in. First case is case number 2503 for Salon Spa establishment at 2139 West 183rd Street. This was published in the January 8th edition of the Southtown. And letters were sent to property owners within 250 feet of the property. Did we get any responses?
There were no comments received at this time.
No, okay, thank you. I've got one question for staff. Does action requested special use for salon spa establishment and zoning variance for parking? But later on in our information, it states the applicant has not yet applied for zoning variance. This application requires a public hearing at a future planning and zoning meeting.
So at the time, when we first received the special use permit, when we noticed this hearing and we moved it forward, upon review of the case, we found that there was a variance required for parking on the site. The applicant has since completed that application. However, we would need to hear the variance at a future hearing, presumably the next hearing, because it has to be noticed and have mailed notice and to meet state requirements.
Okay, so what we're going to hear then tonight is if we're going to allow the establishment at that location without the parking variance, is that correct?
Well, you would have to hear, do we have the application for the parking variance?
We do now, yes.
So what we have to do is discuss the special use. You could vote on it or not. And if you do vote on it, you would have to condition it on future variance, which would be at another. Or you could just continue that case and discuss and vote together. It's up to you.
Okay. Okay, the applicant is Diamond Rowells, proposes to operate a salon at 2139 183rd Street. The property currently is used for storage by the property owner and Domino's Pizza. The applicant proposes dividing the space into the 1,885 square foot space into a salon. You want to tell us, first of all, your name and address, please?
So my name is Diamond Rouse. My address is 2144 Wood Hollow Lane in Hammond, Indiana, 46323.
Okay, and would you raise your right hand and swear the testimony you're going to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. All right, tell us in your own words what you'd like to do over there.
So at the 2139 West 183rd Street, I do want to do a salon suites and booth rental at this location. Furthermore, with the salon suites and booth location, I will be renting to tenants that want to own their own private salon to do hair, and also people in the front of the building to do hair at a booth, which is non-private, it's more in the open space.
Okay, so you would be you would lease the entire space and then rent out substations.
Yes, but I will
Okay.
also work at this location as well.
Pardon?
But I will also work at this location as well.
And how many spaces do you plan on having in there?
So I want to do about 12 offices as far as the suite goes, and one I will be occupying. And then in the front, as far as the booth goes, I would probably do 4 to 6 booths in the front of the salon space.
Okay, and do you have any planned hours of operation?
So it wouldn't really be any time that I wouldn't occupy the space. It's kind of more so when the clients are able to book appointments, it's like an in and out. So it wouldn't really be a time frame, more of like a 24-hour, I guess you could say.
Okay, so someone could come there at 2 o'clock in the morning and get their hair done or whatever.
That's possible.
Okay. I've got several more questions. I'm gonna open it up to the board first. See what kind of questions they have, and then I'll come back with some of my questions.
Okay.
Member Castaneda, would you like to start?
So what do you think your peak times would be where there would be multiple stylists having clients in there? Like, how many people theoretically, I guess theoretically, there could be all 12 stylists with clients at the time, but in general, how many do you think a max would be, and around what times do you think the biggest volume would be?
I say from time frames of 8 a.m. to maybe around 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Mhm.
And how many stylists and clients do you think would be there kind of at any given time? Like in that peak time?
So if I have 11 people working, so that would be one of each, I guess, if everybody's there, maybe about 20 people, 30 people.
Okay, and I guess, do you think that in any given day that there could be all of your stylists there working on clients, or do you generally think it would be fewer people?
Generally, I don't think everybody would be there at the same times as like all together. I think it would be fewer, yeah.
So like ballpark, if you had to guess during your busiest time, how many stylists, give or take, would there be? Would it be like 5?
I would say
7,
6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
How many did you say?
Oh, I was just throwing out
No,
numbers.
what was your answer?
Oh, 6.
6, okay.
That's all I have for now.
Member Ryan?
Good evening.
Mhm.
Got a couple of questions. I noticed in the materials, there's a expression about employees and one about stylists or artists. Are they the same?
Some would be the same. As far as who would rent there, it could be hairstylists, it could be estheticians, it could be people that do other services. As far as like nails, it could be people that do eyebrows and things of that nature. Everybody wouldn't be doing the same thing.
Well, if you're leasing the whole space, are
Mhm.
you going to have employees?
Yes, I assume that I would, yeah.
How many employees would you have?
So I would hope that, because I know it will take me time to actually get tenants to come in. I would hope that after like the first 3 months, I will at least have maybe 4 to 6 people working at a time. when I first opened.
Employee?
Yeah,
You mean employees or people leasing out a space?
people leasing,
Okay,
yes.
so in terms of like somebody like answering the phone or something, right, is that what more? you-
Okay,
I'm
that's
trying to
what I-
distinguish between
Yeah.
a
Employees.
stylist renting a chair
Uh-huh.
and an actual employee that is employed by you.
Okay, so as far as how people would, like, as far as if somebody wants to come in and like call and say, hey, can I come here and get something done? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like someone that you would pay as opposed to them paying you.
So I wouldn't necessarily pay anyone to run the business. It would be solely me running the business and just me renting to tenants and they just occupy what they're renting out.
Who would clean up? Would that be an employee or
So,
an
I-
outside service?
So it would be an outside service. I would get someone to come and clean. If I have to do my own cleaning, then I will, but as the business goes forward, I probably won't want to do that. The more people that I get to work and lease, then I would have to probably hire someone to clean.
The reason I asked the question regarding employees is there's a statement in the materials that the employees would park at the lot in back of Blueberry Hill. So I was trying to identify how many employees that would be that would occupy those spots.
Okay, that makes sense. So it would be pretty much all of the people that I would lease to, I guess, if that answers your question. As many of the offices and booths that I would have, that would be the amount of people that will park in that area, including me.
Well, also, there is some space at,
At the, in the back of the,
right,
exactly. But with Domino's, they require to have 10 parking spaces. And it wouldn't be enough for me to occupy those spaces, so it takes away from my parking. So I would need additional parking behind Blueberry Hill.
okay. Speaking of parking, there's a calculation in here with regards to 10 parking spaces would be required for this use, 1,885 square feet divided by 200 equals 9.425. It can't be rounded up to 10, it's 9.
Yeah, you're
In
right.
my lifetime, I've never known anybody at 9.42 to round up to 10.
That would be 9, yes.
In the code, we require to
So-
round up to the
That
nearest
would
whole number.
correspondingly change the total spaces to 19 and the variance to 6. And that would be included on the findings of fact as well. Numbers 7 and 8 on the finding of fact.
We require to round up when there's a, by zoning, I believe we require to round up, because if you exceed the requirement of 9, for example, 9.1. You should be providing the 10th space to account for the fact that your parking demand is greater than 9 spaces.
No, we actually do it though. It says, the code says any fraction of 1/2 less may be dropped.
Having
Fraction
been
excess
accounting all
shall
my
be
life,
counted. So
I've
you're
never
right.
known anybody
It
that
should be
rounds
9.
up at 9.4.
It should be 9.
Last question right now is, what are the sizes? Well, I have 2 questions. What are the sizes of the offices / suites that you're gonna provide them?
Okay.
12 of them.
Okay, so I would do different ranges and sizes because I would change the price for the rental of for the size that the person would use. So it would go from anywhere from 100 square foot to, I wanna say 175.
10 by 10, 10 by 175. Something like that,
Yes.
okay. And what is the difference between an office and a suite?
So the office and the suite is the same thing. It's just 2 different names.
I see, okay. I have no other questions at this point.
Okay, Member Cap, do you have any questions or comments?
Good evening. I usually ask our staff a lot of questions, so just bear with me.
Okay.
Just for clarification, so, our parking requirement is based on the square footage and not the intensity of the use.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it really wouldn't matter Except maybe in practicality, if you were to, let's say, reduce the number of offices or suites or even your employees in the central front location. If I understand this correctly, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So there's no way really to try to mitigate the need for the variance, not really, okay. You understand what I've been asking? So the your parking requirement, which is driving the need for the variance, is based on your total space and not necessarily how many people
People
you
will
have
occupy.
working, occupying.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong, but you get the idea. If you're successful at this, you could have a lot of people generating the need for a lot of parking spaces, which might not be there, is what I'm getting at. I'm done.
Okay. Bransky?
If you could, well, my question, I guess, really is for staff as well. With this special use permit with the type of services, can you refresh the board's memory? What is the limitation on services before you are outside the scope of what the special permit allows and where it would carry into a whole different category? So like, in other words, massage, whole different category, or
Completely
can't,
different.
so
Massages.
it doesn't really elaborate on, I'm looking through here and it doesn't elaborate on what the services will be, and she just described a whole handful. So with a special permit, we're supposed to specifically define what is going to be used and to what capacity. And I feel like we haven't heard that. When I don't see it in the package at all. So could you elaborate on? And I understand you're kind of doing this on what in the construction industry we call, you're doing it on spec. You don't have a bunch of people lined up already to rent, so I get that. But maybe if you could just kind of repeat your answer and maybe give a little more detail about what services you envision drawing in here for your people that you're gonna rent to.
Okay.
And would maybe also elaborate on where you would limit it, what you wouldn't allow in there?
Okay, so, for one, I will be working there. I do, hair, I do all natural hair. I do twists, I do locks, I do, weaves, as far as that. I'm a hair braider, so I'll be also doing braids. I wouldn't want too many people that do the same thing at my salon, so I would probably limit it to 2 people that maybe do the same thing. But I would want people to, I would want barbers, I would want estheticians, I would want people to do massages, I would want people to do nails, and I also maybe a tattoo artist if I can. So kind of like a all in one, kind of one-stop shop type of thing.
Like a personal service mall.
So, tattoo artists and massage are separate categories that are not included under the salon and spa category. They would need to be, we would need to issue a separate special use permit that would cover those uses separately. So that would be something else we'd have to publish for.
That's kind of why I asked that question,
Good question.
because it sounded like we weren't zeroed in on that here.
Wouldn't tattoos fall under a different category also?
Yes, those are both separate categories. And actually, I'm not sure they're really at all.
Massage would not be in B2, I don't know about tattoo.
So massage would not be permitted there. And neither would tattoos. You couldn't do either of those for that application.
Yeah, through these questions and discussions, we kind of learn some of these details that maybe more questions that you asked when you were doing your application, and that's fine, because you didn't know. Okay, that was really my main question, I guess the only other thing I'm concerned about, I guess I'll ask the question. So you're gonna want to do 24 hours, is that gonna be every day of the week?
Pretty much. It's
24/7.
more like the people that will lease or occupy the space, they work on their own schedule.
Right.
As far as I work on my own schedule, so pretty much every day.
Okay. I guess I'll just ask the question, why 24 hours? What's
Because,
the advantage of that?
the advantage is that, people are able to work freely and run their business smoothly, rather if they're not limited to me closing down at a certain time, because that might steer them from coming to my salon, I guess you would say.
That's all I have.
Bro, you're done.
So, can you tell me again, what this booth area is?
So booths are basically a chair and a station. That's pretty much what it is, and you get a mirror. And you can put your supplies inside of the station and you do your client's hair at the chair. So that's
So
what.
how many more people would that add?
That would add 4 to 6 people.
Okay, in addition to the 12.
Yeah, it's messed up down here,
Back there.
the parking outside. In the building.
So would these be partitions? Each space, or
Yes,
like if we were working side by side, would there be a partition between us?
yes, so I would, the stations that I want to get is double-sided. So it still gives you privacy and you're not exactly like, very close, if that makes sense. So it'll be space between you. And the double-sided mirrors give you more of one person is here, it's a block, and another person is here. So you don't necessarily clash or see each other or see what's going on the other side.
So that'll kind of run right down the middle of that floor space,
Exactly.
not against the wall.
Yes.
And where's the break room?
So the break room would be towards the front, more towards the front, or if depending on how I get the space built out, it would probably be in the back. It depends on how it, will end up going.
Oh, I see. Your color.
Bring color.
I can't, I don't want to print color. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all color.
Yeah, the color coded, okay. What else do I want to ask? I guess. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Nothing else right now?
Right.
Okay. Anybody else on the board want to?
I just want to clarify something on page 13. There's 2 questions there that it says, does the applicant elect to proceed as a planned development? Are they asking about a PUD? The answer is yes. That would not be correct.
Where's this? Oh. Is the subject
Page 13,
page 13? Looking for the question. Oh,
the non-resident.
yeah, that would be no. That would be a no.
That would be a no.
Yeah.
Okay, and the one below it is site circulation or parking impacted? Yes or no? It would be yes.
I think that would be yes.
It would be no, they're not they're not adjusting or altering the circulation or the parking in any way that would require a site plan review.
The parking is impacted because it's not on site. Doesn't matter how, I don't care how it's impacted. This answer should be yes, it's site circulation or parking impacted, and it is.
They aren't
It's gonna
adjusting the
require
parking in
variance.
any way. It's not impacted by any development action by the applicant. The question would be asking if there's any alteration to parking or site circulation, which would require a site plan review.
So physical change, you mean?
Right, there are no physical changes proposed to the parking area.
So the question is not asked clearly.
Yeah.
Because it is impacted because they're required more parking now, so, but it's not altered, so that maybe we need to
Exactly.
rephrase that.
We're talking
question.
about two different things.
If it requires a variance, it's gonna be impacted in some way.
Yes, it's, we need to rephrase that.
I have no.
Okay. Okay, so you plan on having 12 separate spaces. 11 of them you would be leasing out and one would be for your own, correct?
Yes.
Each, as you call artist, would have to be licensed in their own category, correct?
Yes.
Who would be responsible for making sure they have the correct license?
I will.
Okay. And you want to be open 24 hours.
Yes.
Would you be opposed if we set limits on the time?
Possibly, yes.
So if we said you could be open between, for example, 7 in the morning and midnight. Would you be opposed to that, and would that still work for you?
It could possibly work, yes.
It could possibly work,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, so there's gonna be 12 booths. And it's possible that all 12 of those booths could have somebody working at the same time, correct?
Yes.
So you would have 12 artists, as you call them. Plus you would have 12 customers.
Yeah.
So that's 24 people right there. You've got 7 spaces.
Don't forget the booths in the front.
Yeah.
Well, that's waiting area. I'm not counting the waiting area.
No, the booths.
There's
Booths
gonna
in
be
front.
chairs in
Or
the front
six.
too, like the open chairs that you see in a regular, like hair salon, right? So 4 to 6 of those, you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
They'll be doing hair there.
yes.
So that's
So that's in the.
Well,
another 12 spaces potentially.
Okay. So if you have that many people at there at the same time, first of all, where are you gonna park all these people?
That was one of the worries that I did have when I went to go view the space, but when I was talking to the realtor of the space, she said that it was public parking towards, the side. But I didn't necessarily go, I glanced at it and I did see parking maybe about, I wanna say maybe like another 20 spaces possibly on that side. Cause it was
On
parking.
the side where,
Behind, I think it was the Blueberry,
oh,
yeah, the
Blueberry
restaurant,
Hill.
it was a
Okay.
restaurant. And it's parking behind there, and then it's another parking lot in front of it as well. I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about. or not. But it's 2 parking.
Right, part of it's Blueberry Hills and the other part is.
Yeah, it's another parking spot, but the parking lot is wider, so I did look at it and was like, okay, maybe it could work. I'm not too sure about the parking. But I did look at the space and I was interested in the space, so I did want to go forward with the, you know, the
So the
special
people
use.
that would have to park behind Blueberry Hill would have to walk across,
Mhm.
um. That's still Harwood. Yeah, that's Harwood. What is the average length of time a customer would be at the location?
No more than, I wanna say, 4 hours. So anywhere between 2 to 4 hours.
Okay, so you've got 24 spaces that you're gonna have filled for 4 hours.
Well, you
That's-
did
that's a
theoretically
major
say that
concern.
Probably the max would be 5 people, right?
The maximum, like, if I'm fully occupied, I would say maybe the max would probably be like 20 people. But in the beginning, I don't assume that it would be a lot of people there when I first open.
Mhm.
I think it would be a lower number.
Yeah, but what about 2 months down the road? I mean, you don't have. In the type of situation you're talking about, you don't have set hours where the salon is open from 7, like I said, 7 in the morning until midnight. Each artist, as you call them, could set their own time limit and schedule as many people as they want. So you would have 12 artists, 12 customers, and they're gonna be there for 4 hours. That's a lot of strain on that little parking lot. And and the surrounding parking. Okay. Um, What did you say your peak hours would be?
Anywhere from 8 AM to 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Okay. Do you currently have an establishment that you're operating?
Yes. Well, not exactly a building, but I do already do hair that I'm renting a suite now.
You're
So,
what?
yeah, I'm renting a suite now.
Okay, so you're renting a space like you would like to have over here.
Yes.
Okay. The peak hours are from, would you say 8 to 2:30?
Yes.
We'll allow questions from the audience.
Not yet.
When their commissioners are done. Yeah.
I don't know, that's that's a lot of stuff to put in a 5-pound bag. Um. I may come back with some more questions. Do you have a question, sir? You want to stand up and
It's more
speak?
of a clarification,
Pardon?
more of a clarification on her particular business. Because I work for a design professional.
Okay, you want to give us your name and address, please?
Swear.
My name is Amro Saeed. I work for Lucid Engineering Services. And I live at 15424 South Gilchrist Road in Oakland.
And you swear the testimony you're gonna give is gonna be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, that's your.
I've designed plenty of these places and we actually did one here. It's Essence Design, Essence Salon Studios, just on,
Halsted.
And one of the common things that you guys are asking is like, what's the capacity and how much of that capacity is gonna be used on average? And because my client currently has over 250 salons throughout, the different suburbs here in this particular location, I believe he has like 30 or 40. He's usually, any peak moment will be about 50 to 60%. So never is at 100% capacity, And in terms of, I don't know what his particular limitations on timing there. But particularly, everybody has their own schedules, everything's private, in terms of. All the appointments made, and each petitioner in each location has their own business, so they have their own business, their own license. And they run on their own hours, and everything's on keypad, so it's not like the building's open to the public, you have to. Pretty much be allowed in.
Right, I understand that, but we have to plan for the maximum also. We have to plan for the maximum.
No, I understand, but you were asking what typically is like the peak amount of people that would be there. Even though she said about 12 plus 4 or 6, so you could say, 18 times 2. So you're talking about 36 chairs, but in reality, it's more like 50% of that. At any given time, not the full 36, you know. That's all I wanted to.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, I have a follow-up to that too.
Pardon?
So in terms of the hours of operation, I was actually thinking about Essence when I was thinking, I wonder what their hours of operation were. I Googled it and it says they're always open too. Do you know from your client if what they're if they're 24 hours or do
I
they
mean,
set limits?
I don't even know if they're already open now.
I'm not sure, but I know they have different
It took a long time
locations.
in permitting and building out because it's a bigger location. But what I've seen with these other locations is usually they're busy around in the later afternoon, because that's when people are done at work and they have time to get their hair done. But usually even if I pass, there's one in the forest, I pass sometimes with my mom's house at 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't see anybody there. It's not like the parking lot's full of people are getting haircuts, but there could be some emergencies situation where somebody needs to get their hair done because they have a party the next day and they're willing to do the job at 2 in the morning, so. And you don't want, you know, maybe a cop to be called because people are in business in the middle of the night or something, so.
Right, but what I meant was like, as the industry standard of salon suites, do you know if it's typical for them to technically have 24-hour access for their people or?
Maybe it's never been brought up as a limitation that would be kind of considered as a worry
So
of the business, but it's not a limitation particularly, or I don't want.
I do have a comment. So I've worked at 3 locations since I've been doing hair for 4 years. The location I work now is pretty much 24-hour. I've worked at one in Burnham, Illinois, that was pretty much 24-hour, but it was less people. I've worked at one in Hammond, Indiana, and it's pretty much 24-hour, but everybody pretty much gets their own key to come in and out as they want. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any other questions they'd like to bring up?
No, I just, an observation that your anticipated peak hours, 8 to 2:30, happen to coincide with the peak hours of Blueberry Hill. In fact, it's the only time they're open.
Right.
The relevance of that is that parking is a very precious commodity here, and we're understandably very careful in how we look at things like this, and we certainly encourage businesses that have different peaks in their hours of operation, so that parking lot could be 100% occupied throughout the day rather than 200% at certain hours. So this I think just from the way I see it, even using the adjustment with occupancy, with the example of the Essence design, I think this is creating a real potential for a strain on that parking lot.
Plus, we have a restaurant that's gonna be going in
Right.
where the old gas station was.
Yeah, he was pointing that out.
Can I ask a question to the applicant? You had mentioned massage and tattoos, which we've decided are not permitted at this location. Does that change anything for you as far as this location working for you? Does it work without those uses? Because they would not be permitted.
It will work without those uses. It's not a big hinder.
See, my concern is traffic congestion and not enough parking at that location for what you're wanting to do. There's just not enough available parking in that area. You know, you've got the bike shop on one end, then you've got Lassen's. And then who else is in there? The T-shirt store. And then the pizza place. That's a lot of traffic for, that's small area for parking. And I know the bike shop, they don't share their parking until after 5 or 6. Is it 6?
They have an arrangement.
They
with Lassen's.
specifically share it with all
Yeah.
the classes.
Yes.
Okay.
The reality of it is that the Lassen's almost every night takes up their lot, the bike store lot. They cannot park in the Domino's lot, so their overflow is the Blueberry Hill lot. And they
Right.
pretty much fill it up to the point where the overflow traffic now spills into the neighborhood streets to the north.
Right,
And that's almost every night of the week.
South.
So, or south, I'm sorry. Thank you.
and it's,
So if you're gonna have 24-hour operation, now we've got people. That are gonna have to park in those neighborhoods. To walk over. For.
well, we have to keep in mind that the people that live there, they need a
Yeah.
place to park too.
Right. I mean, it's already a problem on the streets. With the residents, not too happy about it.
And summertime is where nice weather is worse, when the patio is open. Okay. Anybody else have any other? On the board, any other questions or comments? No. So you want us to vote on? Not the parking variation, we'd have to do that later? Okay, Yes.
So I just messaged the owner of Essence, and he said his peak hours between 11 to 7.
what's that?
Well, that's his business, that's not this business.
So I understand, but it's very
Yeah.
similar, occupancy in terms of. I wouldn't think it would conflict with, Blueberry Hill, which is a breakfast place that both of we.
Well, but see what you're saying, think about what you're saying here. This actually makes it worse in a sense, because if this would be the peak, it would be competing with Lassen's.
What days of the week? So is that 7 days a week that these are peak
Yeah,
hours?
it's-
So there are days that are busier than others?
So I would say for those peak hours, they would be like the weekend. I think the weekdays are less busy.
Okay. So are we ready for a motion?
Well, before we do that, I have a question first, to clarify, what's gonna come back to us?
That's for the park.
Are we consolidating everything now, or?
Language in here.
It's up to you. You can vote on the special use and then the variance comes back. She can't operate without, this business cannot operate without the variance and the special use. So I don't know if you want to get a read on where people are as far as supporting the special use, and then we come back and vote on both of them together. It's up to you. It really can't operate without the variance though.
But we're not, for all sorts of reasons, and probably public notice, we can't. consider
can't vote on
variance,
them.
yeah.
No, we did not notice.
I personally would prefer to consolidate them.
I don't even see a motion for the special permit. You have a continuation for the parking variance.
Yes. There's no motion. I did not write a motion into the memo because I wasn't sure the way.
But we're
that
not
you
even
wanted to
voting,
do
so
it.
we can't vote on it tonight. We don't have a motion for it.
You can make a motion.
It's the staff recommendation for the
That's
motion.
just a
if we-
staff recommendation. If you wanna, if you wanna do it the other way. you
Okay,
can.
so the recommendation is to say, do a continuation. And if she decides to press forward and. The variation, well, she got the variation, she got the. The variance filled out, it just has to go through the process of getting advertised, et cetera.
It was,
Correct.
it was not filled out at the time that this
Right.
was released.
So once that all catches up,
Yeah.
you schedule another meeting, we would then be voting on the special permit use and the parking variance at the same time.
And.
That's
and
the motion that's recommended here.
like I said, you technically could vote for the special use, but it would be conditioned on getting a variance. There's no way that the special use would go anywhere without a variance. So,
Okay, but we don't have any of the special use language here to put into a motion or anything that we should be citing out of the zoning ordinance, other than just, as we know, findings of fact, so
there are findings of fact, yeah.
I don't.
So you
know if we're
would
really
prefer we
prepared
do
for-
the special use and the parking variation at the same time and not vote on the special use today?
I think it would be a good idea to give the applicant an idea of whether there's support for it, so that we don't waste another meeting and more of.
Instead of spinning our wheels.
But
Well, that would be my thought.
yes,
Vote on the special use tonight.
you can do that, yes.
That way, you know, if you get an affirmative, then you know that you can come back with your parking variation. That would be my recommendation. So with that in mind, who would like to make a motion for a special use for a salon spa at 2139 West 183rd Street?
I don't know what to say. You didn't give us anything to say. Like in reference to what?
It's a,
I mean, usually we have the part of the code that we're
not usually.
compliant
Like,
with,
it's like-
so, okay, I mean,
I can give you the language. It would be a motion to recommend approval of a special use to operate a salon at 2139 183rd Street with the condition that the applicant apply for a zoning variance from the required parking spaces.
okay, so I don't have to say anything out of the ordinance, all right.
So,
All right, I'll take a stab at that motion, Mr. Chairman. Make motion for approval of case 25-03. Requesting special use permit to operate salon at 2159 183rd Street. With the condition that the applicant apply for a zoning variation from the required parking spaces. And incorporating the findings of fact, which there are 8. Also, making note that the businesses allowed for renting the space could only be those that are allowed per the code for this district.
Okay, we have a motion by member Bransky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by member O'Brien. Roll call, please.
Member Alfonso,
Yes.
member Bransky,
Unfortunately, I'm gonna vote no. I think it's too much of a concentrated load for this spot.
member Cap,
No.
member O'Brien,
No,
member Castaneda,
yes.
Chair Surzaga.
No. What did Casson, what did you vote, yes or no?
Yes.
You voted yes.
Good. The motion did not have enough votes to continue that motion of approval forward.
We need to find a new location.
Parking.
Okay, well, thank you
Thank you.
very much. And good luck to you. Okay, next case is case 2449, a special use permit for indoor commercial place of assembly at 18035 Dixie Highway. This is a continuation from November 21st. And is a petitioner here? Would you like to come up to the podium, please? Good evening. Since you've already been sworn in, we don't have to swear you in again. Can you tell us what additional information you've come up with?
Since our last meet, I talked to, Ronald Eldridge at the dental place that's right behind the building. He has offered me 20 spaces for, parking.
Okay. That was the big question we had at the time was, where are you gonna park these cars?
Yes.
And now you're still planning on how many people at a time?
Well, I have not had the, meeting with the fire department because I'm waiting on you all to approve the space for special use.
Okay.
So that would be determined on them. I mean, I'm hoping to get 50 people in space. So that would definitely be on their approval of what, I mean, I can occupy minutes.
Okay, in the agreement you had with Eldridge, says you can use up to 20 parking spaces during events.
Yes,
So if you have, say, 4 events in 1 week, you can use 20 spaces all 4 of those days.
yes, I will be renting spaces from him monthly. And then I will also encourage my clients to carpool. Because most people, when they're having events like this, it's family members and they're all coming to the same space, so that will work out. And also I know that the free parking here at the Metro will also be great for the summer months, you know, that wouldn't mind walking.
Do you have an actual lease or agreement? I know that what you submitted to us alludes to a lease. Is that something that you could provide?
A lease from,
For your parking spaces?
oh yeah, we haven't did any of that yet. He just gave me permission and approval that he will do it, so he's waiting on me to get all the approvals before we do that.
Okay, again, are you going to have any employees?
It's just me and my husband right now, so we will be doing the cleanup, so I won't have anybody coming there. Only employee we might have is security. If, you know, the clients want security there at the time, but it's just me and my husband who will be doing any of the cleaning up. And, you know, setting up if that's the process that the clients want us
And
to
you're
do.
planning events for up to 50 people? Is that?
Yes, they could have up to 50 if that's what I am approved.
Okay, question for staff. If she has 50 people, is 1 bathroom sufficient or will she need another bathroom? What?
That would be up to I do not know that, it sounds like we haven't determined occupancy yet, so we don't have that information at this point.
Okay. Because you said there would be a difference depending on what type of tables you had, I believe. There's sit-down tables and.
Yes, there'll be sit-down tables. If it's 50 people, I will not have sit-down. I believe that would be too much in my eyesight.
Okay.
So sit-down, I would consider 40 people to sit down, to 35 to 40 people, I would say, for sit down. But 50, it will be high boys and people will be walking, just standing at the high boys to,
Okay, this is what
Like
brought
for-
up my question. We have a memo from. It says the Livy Room has an agreement with Eldridge Dental of 20 parking spots a month.
Mhm.
My question, the way that's worded is, if you use 10 on Tuesday
Mhm. I know what you mean.
and you get 10 more on Thursday,
Mhm.
what about Friday?
No, I can use the
There's a
space.
total of 20.
It's a
at
total
any
of
time.
20 spaces at any time,
Okay.
yes.
Seems to me like the occupancy of the space will have a big impact on the special use.
That was gonna be my number one question. And now it's still unknown. I was kind of hoping to find that out.
Vote on.
So the International Building Code has some thoughts on this, as
Yes,
does the fire protection, the NFPA. So, it's considered concentrated occupant loading when you have, no fixed seating. People are just moving around. So that's 7 square feet per person, which you have 1,100 square feet here, that would say that you could accommodate 157 people.
Oh, wow.
However, if you have tables and chairs, which you are possibly talking about, that would allow you in this space to have 73 people.
Okay.
The point is, 24 spaces doesn't go very far to accommodate the worst case situation of 73, and quite frankly, 24 parking spaces doesn't go very far to accommodate 50 people. It's only about half of what you need. And I have to admit, I like, I'm giving Noah credit for this. It's called mitigation of the variance. So it would, again, we're at a chicken and egg thing, depending on what the occupancy loading factor is that the fire department will determine. I hate to say we maybe need to kick this can down the road again and have another continuance, but I don't think it's fair. And maybe they don't even want to address this ahead of time. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I think it would be a little unfair to let's say, force a vote tonight without an answer to that question.
So an answer to the question from the fire department or what?
Fire department, how many people are you gonna be able to accommodate here? Even if, I mean, just to say it again, very simply, even if you have 40 people, you're providing about 2/3 of what you need in turn, or the other way around, you're only providing 1/3 of what you need in terms of parking, and that creates a big deficit for parking here in the downtown area. You know, God bless you if you do fabulous business and are wildly successful. I mean, that would be great, but you know, just at this level for me of examination, it starts to strain available parking. At one time, you were gonna talk to the church. Did you do that?
I did do that, but the village is already working with the church. And so they said they will not work with anybody who is not non-for-profit. So that was one of the reasons why we didn't go further. And so that's what took me to Mr. Eldridge for his parking, because his timing is very short for dental work that he's open. And so that's why I went with him with the 20 spaces, because I thought that would be good. helping out the village as we already are in a strain of parking. I found a parking lot that would accommodate at least 20 of the clients that I'm, of their party goers at the time.
I mean, it's 20 more than you had before you talked. to me.
Exactly, so, parking is, like I said, I would encourage them also to park here at the Metro in the evenings, because most of the events will be in the evening. Assuming some will be in the daytime, but yes.
If I could ask just a staff question, I believe you answered this at the November 21 meeting, but just to follow up with it again. Do you know off the top of your head the square footage of the floor space itself? Because I know that space has a kitchen in the back, that's a couple hundred square feet.
Yeah,
Can you remind me what your floor area of the actual space that you plan to use for event gathering space is again, just so that that can be communicated to the fire department as well?
I do not remember off the top of my head what it was, but I believe it's like 900 square feet that we kind of measured out in the front, and then 2 is in the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would make sense with your floor plan, but since it's not marked on the floor plan that was in that packet, I think you said it verbally or gave an estimate verbally. but
I did
wanted to
give you
follow
the
up.
direct measurements, but I don't have that with me.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Well, we can continue that conversation and just, I wanted to relay that to the fire department to make sure they have that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, our information states 1,100 square feet.
Yeah, that's for the whole space, but it's a
whole space.
wall in between that to separate off the back part of it, which is the kitchen.
Okay. Member Alfonso, you have any questions or comments?
At this time, so, the fire department.
Okay. Member Bransky?
Yeah, can you refresh our memory? I'm looking for it in the minutes from the last meeting. Give us an idea of any given week. How many events you were planning, what would be your peak or your capacity that you could do per week? I can't recall if you even stated that last time, but.
Well, most of the time, event is 4 to 5 hours. 5 hours would be the max for someone to rent out, unless they wanted to rent it out for the whole day. Just say the village wanted to rent it out, because we were having something in the neighborhood and you wanted it to have Santa Claus there. Okay, let's just say Santa's gonna be there. You wanted it for the time that you wanted it for. If you wanted it for the whole day, you can have it for the whole day, but for usual events will be 4 to 5 hours.
And your plan is 7 days a week. So how many days out of that week do you anticipate events happening? I mean, you literally, I
Every
mean,
day.
obviously the dream would be every day, but
Of course.
you're a small operation, you're gonna
Of course.
be pretty tapped. What do you think you're gonna be doing?
It
If
depends.
everything goes reasonably well, what do you anticipate?
I anticipate at least 4 parties a week, at least. And most of them will be mostly on the weekend.
Mostly weekends.
Now, the daytime, only way I could say anything will happen like that is if it's a repast or if it's a small meeting, someone having with their business or something like
Yeah.
that. A small brunch or something like that. I can't tell you, that's just the thing of event spaces. You don't know who's gonna come in for what. They
That's why
might-
you want the flexibility.
Yes, and it might be somebody who's doing content, who does podcasts. So it might just be 4 people in there at one time. So that's just the game of event spaces, you just opening it up to anybody to rent the space. So, but that's the only thing I could give you at this point.
That's all I have. And then just to reiterate that the applicant brought up the use of the Metro lot over on Harwood is a possibility for overflow. And unfortunately, it might be the nearest overflow,
Yeah.
but it could be available. And you'd be taking your chances there because it's the overflow for quite a few businesses right now. We have on that strip on Ridge, multiple restaurants that are competing for parking, and that metro lot is getting its use. So I have.
Nobody else?
That's it.
Okay, member Cap?
No, I asked my questions and pointed out some things.
Okay.
You know, unfortunately, the way I see it, it's too many people potentially and too few parking spaces, even with trying
Even
to,
with the 20 spaces.
well, yeah, that use and some metro lot and whatever, it's just it seems and it's not like I pulled these numbers out of the hat. The fire department, I'm sure, would be
No.
accurate. I mean, they're certainly aware of these sorts of occupant loading.
Okay.
I had a friend, I mean, I guess off the record, but I had a conversation with somebody over the weekend about they were trying to get zoning approval in the city of Chicago for an event space, and as you might imagine, the critical feature is the availability of parking. So you're not alone in this struggle, let's say.
Okay, member O'Brien, do you have anything?
Maybe a question or two. Good evening.
Good evening.
Back in November, when you first came before us, you mentioned that the maximum you might have is 60. Is that true tonight?
That's
you
what I
mentioned 50.
did say that, but once I get in the space, I don't, even though he says I could probably have 73, I won't have that many people because I don't want that in my space. I want it to be an intimate space. That's the whole thing. Everybody's having these huge parties and that's not what I want in the
So I
space.
understand that, but it was 60 in November and
Yes.
tonight you were expressing 50.
Yes,
So 50 is the number.
I want mine to be 50. So if they say I can have 100 people, I don't want it to be that. Because I'm literally going to say intimate space. I don't want it to be overwhelming with people in there because I don't feel like it's a comfortable.
Okay, the most attendance or people at any given event would be 50.
Mhm.
Okay. And you're not going to have any cooking on site.
No, no cooking on the site. They will have to bring in already made food. Mhm.
I have the same reservation with regards to parking. That's the center in the heart of Homewood, downtown Homewood. And we have to have a special meeting regarding this. We're dumping an awful lot of parking on the street when these,
Well, the parking on the street is shared 10 different times.
yeah, that's
It
what
was
I'm
counted
talking
10
about.
different times.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking
so-
about. I mean.
Mm.
In very, just like the one at 100 and, I mean, at 183rd and Harwood.
Right.
The shops around there. It's always been discussed to use that lot and then on the street and then maybe not and so forth. There's so many spots on the street. And I realize that times may vary depending upon the business. But
Yeah, there's no parking on 103rd Street.
right,
So that eliminates all that.
exactly. And in this case, I just have a problem with the parking. That's the only problem.
Yeah,
I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Member Castaneda?
I mean, obviously, I share the same concerns. I will say that I think that the strain here wouldn't necessarily be. I think a lot more people would carpool to a space like this. There'd be married couples or families if it's a birthday party or a wedding shower or something like that. So I think it'd be pretty unlikely that 50 cars would show up to a thing, right? As opposed to the previous case we discussed where you could you know, one person's driving to their hair appointment, someone's
Right.
driving to work. And so I think that in terms of the strain on the overflow of village-owned parking, public parking, I think I think the 24 spaces, while obviously not ideal, obviously you'd have 50, but you know, I think that it's better, it's better than nothing, you know, I think it wouldn't be as big of a strain as one-to-one needed of cars versus like a salon where you're clearly gonna be driving yourself instead of your stylist. So, just food for thought.
What about, a party if they want to bring in their own music?
Well, they definitely will have their own DJ, and then I also will offer them to use a speaker that I will have in my space. So if they don't want to hire a DJ, they can bring their phone and play a playlist.
Well, my concern is how does it affect the people upstairs?
They cannot hear upstairs. I've been talking back and forth with the landlord. They do not hear any music upstairs. Mhm.
You said they normally have a DJ though?
Hmm?
They have a DJ normally?
Yes, if they want to, or they will play the speaker that I will purchase to have in the space.
All right,
So it would be no different, like if you all had a club there, they had a DJ, or they played their own music when they had the restaurant, or just had it out for a regular day. So that will be the same.
okay. Yeah, my concern also is the parking. You know, it's nice that you got 20. But is 20 gonna be enough? The next closest public parking lot would be the metro station. About the village.
Yeah, I mean, there are plans for redevelopment of the village hall parking lot. It is available right now in the evening. Not during the day though, so if we have, and then also. We're looking into doing another agreement with St. John's, but again, that wouldn't be always, it would, you know, wouldn't be when there was, wouldn't always be available. I think the concern in this area is that there are a lot of uses that are assembly, like, you've got the, you know, you've got next door. Or a couple doors down is called, you know, the former culture space will be open with entertainment, so there's some competing uses. And be busy at the same time.
So if this lot is available during the day,
No, neither of these are available during the day,
or it's available if somebody wants to come to the village hall.
during the day, yes, at night though.
But what
parking is
about,
available.
there's no commuter parking anymore in this lot? Okay,
Meaning this lot on this property, you're not talking about across the street,
Right,
because that's commuter
because that is.
during the day.
During the day.
So an event during the day would be precluded from being able to use that
Yeah.
unless they were gonna pay.
Right, you could pay a park there.
You'd be able to use the dentist office parking station during the day though, right?
Yep.
Anytime, okay.
Mhm.
Wasn't sure if that was limited to their
Hours.
hours now. Okay.
So I have one other comment to coattail what you said, about the former establishments there, and that is, you know, Grape and Grain. They had a good run. They obviously had the same parking problems. They were able to support it, and Culture was able to support it. I mean, it put a strain on downtown parking for sure. And there are a few new players involved since those establishments were open. But they were able to pull it off for a couple of years there, so. Just make note of that.
okay. Any other questions or comments from anybody? If not, are we ready to make a motion? It's a tough one.
Yeah, I was happy to get the 20 spaces because I just didn't. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but you all gave me some great places to start off from, and I ran with it as much as I could. And so 20 was like, whoa, I got 20 spaces, so I hope you all will consider letting me have the space.
I'll make that, Mr. Commissioner, I'll make the motion. For case 24-49, recommendation for special use permit to allow the operation of an indoor commercial place of assembly at 18035 Dixie Highway and incorporate the findings of fact into the record. Noting that the maximum occupancy has yet to be determined by Homewood Fire Department. I don't know how, okay, time out. Question on that. Let's say it comes back and he agrees with, says the 73. How do we establish for special use permit? Can we condition that
Yes.
maximum?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. You can condition,
Okay,
the commission can put a condition on it that no more than 50 people or
okay.
whatever. you-
So obviously the applicant has the choice of what to do with this after we vote on it, but let me start over. So case 24-49, recommendation for special use permit allow the operation of an indoor commercial place of assembly at 18035 Dixie Highway. Incorporate the findings of fact into the record. In addition, setting a limitation for maximum occupancy as suggested by the applicant to be 50 if approved by Homewood Fire Department at 50 or, or at a minimum, 50 by the Homewood Fire Department in their review. Does that catch it? Does everybody make sense of that?
Yes.
I have a question though.
Yes.
What if the fire department, and I don't want to say capriciously, chooses to, or maybe I should say arbitrarily says, no, can't have more than 40 people there.
Well, then our motion wouldn't.
The occupancy limitation by the fire department has to stand regardless of what the.
That's what the use would have to be amended. then.
Well, but see, my point is, if the fire department, hypothetically, if they were to, for whatever reason, justify a lower occupancy load, that would mean less of a parking variance.
Well, there's no parking variance required for this. But I see what you're saying. If
Yeah.
they said there can only have 20, then she would have the parking to accommodate it.
Right.
So we could say, set it at a maximum of 50, but not to exceed the fire department's recommendation.
I understand that, and I mean, that was.
That's all I was trying to
very-
get to.
But
No,
you're-
you did, it was
Yeah.
very,
What you're getting at is if the fire department says they can only have 20, that might change your votes.
right, exactly.
It might change her wanting to be in that space. If you go
Well,
to the
sure,
story, it might not work for her
Absolutely, right,
anymore.
exactly.
Yes.
So the fire department information is a little critical.
I'm thinking that it's probably likely that your numbers are correct and they're not going to, but there could be other, when the fire department comes out, there could be other issues, you know, you could have to put in a new bathroom, you could have to put in a new exit. There are a lot of requirements for that space that this use has never been at that space before. And you're gonna have to completely remodel it to meet all codes. Just keep that in mind, and that may limit it too. So.
It's gonna have to be sprinkled too, right?
It's nothing that is 5,000 feet or less.
Oh, okay.
Needs to be sprinkled.
There's already 2 exits in spaces.
Yeah. Just like I don't know what the space is like.
Okay, let's back up a moment. Would you like the choice of continuing this until you talk to the fire department?
And then find out what you'd be in for
And then
as
find
well,
out, right?
for their requirements.
So we would talk to the fire department, we would gather, we continue to gather information, and then we would hear this presumably on February 13 would be the next date that the planning and zoning commission will meet.
That way she would know if she can do the 50
Right.
that we have all kind of targeted. The fire department is in line with that or not. And then she also knows what she's got to do to the space. And is that an investment that she wants to make? And then she's prepared to come back and say, yep, still in, and then we can do our vote.
Or we can, approve it for whatever.
Mhm.
And if it turns out to be more than she's willing to put into it,
Then she's just, yeah.
you have the choice of not signing a lease, I presume.
I'm willing to put in another bathroom. That's not a problem with me already, so. If that's the case, I just really wanna know if you all are gonna approve me for the space. So, but I do want to get the number, even though, like I said, if they say 150, I'm not going with 150, because that's not.
So can we just say, so that the maximum occupancy is not to exceed 50 as agreed to with the applicant or as established by Homewood Fire Department.
Yeah.
Will that be all right?
Or you talk to the fire.
Limited as established by the fire department. Or not to exceed 50, really would be it, because they'd be the driver, because they might say 40. For whatever.
Would that be okay?
That's fine with me.
To do
It's
that.
an intimate space, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yes.
You want me to rephrase that again?
You're good.
Really good.
I think we got it.
Mr. Bransky, did you want to make a motion, did you say?
Yes, sir. We're gonna roll with the last one I did. We have a mutual understanding that the fire department will establish that maximum occupancy, and no matter what it is, it will be the maximum not to exceed 50 as agreed upon here.
Okay. Have a motion by member Bransky. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Castaneda. Roll call, please.
Member Alfonso,
Yes.
member Bransky,
I'm gonna vote yes. I think member Castaneda's comments are going to hold true.
member Cap,
No.
member O'Brien,
No,
member Castaneda,
Yes.
and Chair Struzego.
No. I just think it's too much of a strain on the parking.
We can talk about next steps. It could go to the village board, but right now it's not a positive, it's not a recommendation. Approval. We need 4 votes for that.
Oh, okay.
We can talk about whether it goes to the village board or not.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Good luck with it. Right. Right. Make it work. And that's why we continued it, come back again.
Okay, next case is case number 2450, a continuation. From. What was the date of that last meeting? 118?
December 12th,
No, in December.
December 12th.
No, okay. So you're ready to present your new rendition? Okay. Since you've already been sworn in, you've provided us with some additional information.
Correct.
You are changing it from 18 to 15, right?
Correct. You can scroll down to the blue and green one.
This one.
Yep.
Okay, so tell us what you did in your revision.
So under the last meeting's recommendations, we looked at the entire space. And we considered, so we removed 3 units. And removing those 3 units allowed us to expand on all the other units in equal fashion to remove any of those awkward sized bedrooms. I think last time we were talking about there was 1 or 2 bedrooms that was like 92 or 93 square feet. So now we have a more typical size unit, so we don't have any goofy, weird, awkward shapes. They're all kind of uniform in size, shape, square footage, layout, except for like the 2 units in the back because they're rotating 90 degrees. So if you could scroll down to the next page, actually is a screen, a closer zoom up of your typical unit. It's actually 1 unit, but mirrored onto itself.
Okay.
So 2 bedrooms, open living space with bathroom, living, dining, kitchen. We still have a mechanical room for all the utilities, a bathroom serving 2 bedrooms, 2 closets. And the typical bedroom size being about 135 to 140 square feet. In terms of dimensions, about 10.5 by 11 or 12, depending on which bedroom. So one is slightly larger than the other. Also, we looked at access because I know that was, we mentioned on our last meeting about accessibility, whether we wanted a ramp or lift, how would that affect the ADA or handicap individuals from entering the building. So now the main entrance for this building was always the south side. We would accommodate everybody, all the tenants of the building would come through there. So now we have a foyer area. You walk in, there'd be a little area for the mail room, and then the lift take you up to the next level, which is not a full floor, but about 5-6 feet up. And then there would be another door, which would be locked, and that's when you access the apartment building from there. We also added, which is not entirely for sure what we're going to do in this space, but we added some flex rooms. We were thinking about what to use in that space, whether it's some kind of storage or unique offering in terms of like we could rent these rooms off if somebody needed to do some kind of meeting at home for working at home, or maybe we could merge the 3 rooms into some kind of communal room that people can use, whether it's a lounge area or something. That hasn't been decided 100% yet, but that's available as well. We added the 3rd exit as requested from the fire department and the previous meeting. Another issue that was brought up was noise, and I guess the visual of the train tracks and the train noise. So we yes, so on the west side, we added landscaping to be a buffer in terms of visually and for sound. So we got a mix of maple trees and evergreen bushes between the trees to allow for the coverage and buffering low end and high end, because obviously the train tracks are kind of elevated at that point, maybe 10 to 12 feet up. So even if we put a fence, it wouldn't help anybody. So the trees will definitely, the trees, I believe the maples will get up to 30 to 40, 50 feet. And evergreens about 15, 20 feet to kind of create a nice big buffer between the train tracks and the back of the building for those tenants. Let's see, was there anything else? I think that's it. If you have any questions. I think bike parking as well. We added bike parking. I think was a comment also at the bottom.
Yeah, you don't have a question about parking. You have adequate parking.
Yes.
You thinking, thank God.
Something different for a change. Member
We made it.
Alfonso, do you have any questions or comments, Member Alfonso?
What is the comment that I appreciate? All of our investments in
Yes.
consideration and rework this, I think it does really, come out better for people when we lease spaces. And all of the additional, measures that you've done. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Bransky?
Yeah, I agree. I like what you did. I think it's very simple. Things. I don't think it changes your business model too much, I hope. I think it's actually gonna improve your opportunities of filling this up. Feeling much more comfortable with it now. Just a question out of personal curiosity. If you don't know the answer, that's fine. In that building, that the curved roof is a series of bowstring trusses, I imagine. How are your ceilings terminating and where? How are you supporting that?
We're still kind of undecided, but I suggest we take advantage of those spaces because that, if you look at the plan, I don't know if we have,
It kind of runs right down the middle of the hallway, right?
well, not just the hallway, actually it goes from, I would say, if you go back to the blue and green plan. So if you see, the open living space, so like the kitchen, living, dining area on both sides, that's really where the
That's
art
You could
area is.
step the ceiling up.
Yeah, so we're gonna take advantage of that.
Like a vaulted ceiling.
Yeah, because we were considering like if we actually lower the ceiling, that would actually add material and add additional weight, which then now can be some kind of structural issue. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't really thoroughly look into that quite yet. But that was kind of one of the offsets. We said, okay, maybe these are tighter space, but giving those nice vaulted larger
That's-
spacings
yeah,
will kind of
Makes
offset
it
that.
feel bigger.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's kind of what I was asking, and just out of personal curiosity too,
Yeah.
so. Didn't really have any bearing on my vote or anything, I just was curious. No, good plan, I like it. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay.
Actually, it's perfectly in that area because the columns that support that part of the roof is where the bathroom
With
plumbing
wall.
walls are.
Mhm.
So it perfectly would start arching in those areas and create a very unique space.
Good idea.
Member Cap?
Also heartened by the fact that you took our comments and you made some, I would say, major modifications to this. I have, however, two questions. The first is, despite your impressive landscaping plan, you're still not looking to do any interior sound insulation for what would be, 3 units?
It's insulation itself will provide some dampening. But I mean, if that's like the final straw, we'll look into that system and see how we could protect those few units. So we technically have 1 unit and these are 2 units.
Yeah, one's in the southwest corner.
So
for
is it
instance.
just a consideration of like the windows, whether we get,
Yeah, the window.
maybe we put triple pane,
Right.
better soundproof windows just in
Right.
an area, and we're talking about minimal increase in just those 3 units, not the whole building.
Right.
But again, with the landscaping, actually, we did get advice from a landscape company. And under his suggestion of the mix between the larger maples, which the specific one we specified on there has a nice full round kind of grow out. And then on the evergreens will kind of block out the lower end, that, you know, the trunk
The
would go up.
maples lose their leaves in the winter, of course.
Well, again, there's, but no fence would help us in this case. We would have to put a 20-foot fence.
Oh, I'm not suggesting a fence. Personal experience, I've tried evergreen trees, coniferous. and on my property,
Mhm.
my house, which is not as close to the railroad as these would be, and but one time I actually had a buddy come and measure sound,
Yeah, that's supposed,
blah, 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 but not as effective as you might imagine.
Mhm.
That's why I'm.
No, I know we did another project with a car wash. And it's like the sound from the car wash would bounce off and come back and annoy one particular resident.
Sure.
So we had to perfectly like position large panels to kind of
Yeah.
dissipate that in a way.
Yeah.
In this case, you know, it really goes into fine detail because just putting insulation is not just a solution. It's about creating a separation where the sound no longer has anything to vibrate through.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's about, you know, the construction and adding those windows, we'll accommodate those items just to kind of alleviate as much as we can. Obviously, we can't promise it'd be completely soundproof, you know, but yes, we'll definitely consider that during construction.
Well, that's good, thanks. And then you seem to have this reliance on the lift as opposed to a ramp, so could you go through what your thought process was on that?
In terms of the lift, it's easier because a
Sure.
ramp essentially takes much more space. Because you, like this ramp here has to follow code, so to get up 5 feet, you would need a ramp 60 feet long.
Right,
To accommodate that, and that would mess up the whole circulation of the parking lot if we were accommodating a ramp that long. So we figured it'd be simpler and make sense for this kind of really dense project to get that through.
Well, it does say here, it says southern entry has been adjusted to allow for walkway of small ramps adjacent to the door to meet ADA. Page 26.
So-
93.
On the site plan, looking at the two side by side,
Yeah.
you showed that there were some slight modifications made just outside the south entry. It looked like you kind of reconfigured it where that's because that door is slightly raised. You had two very small ramps there.
Yeah,
I think the elevation view actually shows these,
I thought the
And
door was
then-
now flush.
but that's a
Yeah,
that's a
that's
little
what
bit
I'm saying.
different.
well, right now, there is no curb there,
Right. and
so
you're-
we're gonna put a regular curb now.
Right, and that's the main adjustment, maybe the comment was trying to point out, was that you've made adjustments because originally it was just the asphalt.
Yeah,
There
and
weren't a
then-
lot of changes proposed, so,
Yes,
it's trying to highlight that on the bottom elevation there, on the south elevation.
This one?
Might be better to see point actually.
and we have an ADA ramp to accommodate, you know, from
Right.
that closest parking stall
Right,
to get,
but you would still need a lift, you're not raising all the way up 5
yeah,
feet
that's just to get you up to
right.
the curb. And then through the threshold, and then from that threshold, you would take the lift up, you know, I would say this high, that's the difference between the main level
all those.
and the
I know,
parking
really
or
small,
grade
those
level.
call outs
About
there.
4.5, 5 feet.
Right there, there's two.
Let me see if I get the exact. number. Yeah, it's 5 feet. So the curb would be 6 inches, so about 4.5 feet from, if you could zoom in on the foyer area, like the interior. Not there, on the green and,
Oh, on the other one?
yeah, a little bit more down and to the right, I believe.
Like this way?
No, to the left a little bit. Yep, and down. So you'd walk in where it says vestibule.
Yeah.
And then you go to the right, you have your mailboxes, and then you have a lift that will take you up to that 5-foot first floor level, and then you would go into the secured access door, which would be, so essentially you could walk in, anybody could walk into the vestibule, like any apartment building, get their mail, the mail lady will go in and put their mail in or whatever. But once you get to that second door, that's what's locked for the tenants of the building, and you would go into your apartment from there.
That makes, and this is what's been adjusted then.
Yes.
As a quick staff question to follow up
Sure.
really quickly while Commissioner Cap was talking about sound dampening and things. On the elevation views, you have two different window labels. You have an SL, which I presume, a typical, which is for sliding.
Mhm.
You have a DH on the back windows facing the train tracks with the typical on them. Were those meant to be different windows? I identified those as being different because they were labeled differently, but I wanted to follow up because schematically on the drawing, they don't look all that different, but I wanted to ask for any detail on.
I think that was just a mistake. Those are also
All those are
sliding
the
windows. Yeah.
same windows?
Yeah.
Okay, would you consider potentially, maybe a revised window type somehow to maybe reduce, to dampen? have you
Yeah, we'll
looked into
definitely
that?
look into if a slider window is probably the least effective and maybe a double hung or a casement window is better. We'll change those specs to fit that, to accommodate that.
Okay, and I thought the DH was a double hung, so that's why I wanted to ask. if
Yeah, the
that
double
was-
hung is either you could pull it up or pull it down.
Yeah,
Those are typically your cheaper windows, but in terms of their effectiveness for sound dampening, I would have to look further into that.
okay,
I think when it comes to sound, it's more about how many panes of glass and gas they have and the layers, so.
sure.
Anything else, Mr. Camp?
No, good, thanks.
Okay, Member O'Brien?
I've got a few questions. Just to start out, a correction on the materials. On page 24, subject property is 16,646. The proposal is not 18, it should be 15.
Yeah.
And then after the word floor. The news station alert has arrived. Because there's no one
Very
bedroom.
annoying. I got a software
Not too
update in
bad.
September and I get these random.
On page 25,
Stripped out.
there's a revised floor plan. And item number
Turn
3B,
my,
unit size significantly
Volume down,
increased
then I
to
can't hear.
854 square feet. For
I
smaller
bought the
units
AT&T
and
store and
888 for larger.
sure
units. Indicated there were units were uniform.
Yeah,
They're not really, according to the,
well, there's, I think, one unit that's that 8, so they're like. Actually, on my, let's see. What we've got. So we have 14, there's 15 total units. 14 of them are 854, and there's one that's 888. And I think it's that corner unit on the south west, because the hallway ends, and that's where the door into that unit
14
is.
what?
14 are 854.
I see.
54.
Yep, and then the last unit, which is the black sheep, is the 888.
888.
Right. And essentially, it's because it's taking that hallway space, because it's just a dead end, so it's getting that convenient little extra space.
Okay, I have a series of questions regarding the dimensions that you expressed.
Mhm.
According to the drawing, page 29, 30, what is it? Page 30. The blue and green.
Yeah.
Units. No unit there is over 800 square feet. They range from 676 square feet to 795, according to the dimensions that are on the drawing.
Okay, so those dimensions give you interior square footages of the spaces. So like, if I'm looking at bedroom 1 and 2, it says bedroom 1 is 139, bedroom 2 is 116. That doesn't include the walls. But when you calculate leasing space, you include all the gross area, which includes walls. So like, if I was saying the area of this room is 1,000 square feet. Now, if I was calculating the whole building, I would count this room plus the thickness of the wall, the shared walls and partitions. So that's why there's a discrepancy between that. Whenever you add that's net area. So that's calculating the area of the exact floor space, not including the walls themselves. And when you actually calculate for leasing purposes, you include all your interior walls plus the exterior walls. And then when it comes to shared party walls, one unit gets half, the other unit gets half. Does that make sense?
I understand your explanation.
Yes.
It does not, however, make any sense to me. There is buildable space and there is rentable space
Yes,
and usable space. There's different spaces
yes.
within the same unit, within the same building. normally, when you talk about a unit of housing,
Mhm.
you're talking about the square footage of the rentable,
Yes.
usable housing.
No, it's rentable, when you talk about, if you go through the standards of what they calculate. For, like, if you were gonna write a lease and you go down to the legality of what the space is, they count those walls. But the program that we use when we're calculating basic area of each space, it just calculates just perimeter of that space, it doesn't count the walls unless I wanted to. So when I say, okay, the kitchen living space is 396, it's not including that. But when you're renting the space and you calculate, okay, I'm gonna rent this space for X amount for X amount of square footage, you go based off of including all those walls. So I don't know if,
I would also add that, that calculation doesn't include these closets.
Yes,
and hallway
exactly.
Space. And if you
Correct.
add that up, it's,
Yeah, the what?
if you add the closets and the little hallway space here, those aren't included either in these numbers. You get to that 854. So,
Okay. The two units that you identified the floor plans of.
Mhm.
If you take a look at the, I think it's unit 5. What is the measurement? What is the square footage of the second bedroom?
the square footage or the measurement? In terms of dimension.
The measurement that you have on the drawing regarding that particular second bedroom.
Okay, so second bedroom, it says 100,
7 inches by 11 feet 6 inches.
correct.
Okay. That's 121.71 square feet, which is more than the square footage expressed for that particular room.
Say it again, which room are we talking about?
this one, this one, bedroom 2.
Yes.
Bedroom number 2
Yes,
of unit number 5.
yeah, so it's 10 feet 7 inches by 11.
11 feet 6
Yeah.
inches.
No, it's just 11 feet. You see that dimension right there where your cursor is, that's 11 feet. So 11 by 10.7, and obviously it's not taking the tolerances of
Okay,
0.00.
I'm not gonna argue the 6 inches.
Yeah.
11 feet by 10.7, whatever that comes out to is more than the room.
Again, the software automatically calculates it. I can't.
116.41.
So the discrepancy comes from on the typical, on the plot, this plan right here.
Yes.
Where it says 116 right there.
That
I-
has-
It says 11'6" on that one. I think that's where the discrepancy is coming
Okay,
from
can you
here.
just go up a little bit? I think it's up. Okay, it's just a mistake on drafting. So he hooked it
Okay.
up. It's supposed to be 11.
He went to this,
Yeah.
he went to
Yeah.
this point.
Whereas the ones on the floor plan all say 11, which would be the 116 that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
well, that's just
but
a mistake in drafting. We apologize. for
just,
that.
So
Yeah, this doesn't include that extra 6 inches on this.
Are these units symmetrical?
Yes,
Okay. The second bedroom on unit 11 is not 11 feet 6 inches, it's 12 feet.
okay, so if you could go to that.
Which one?
Large,
Which number?
the next page.
The typical?
Yeah, so you zoom out a little bit. So a little bit more. Keep going. Like the people.
You want the whole thing?
Yeah.
You want to see all of
Yeah,
it?
that's it. So these are two mirror
Oops.
units. So this unit is mirrored from that unit. And one bedroom is slightly bigger, so you would consider bedroom 1 as your master and the second bedroom as the secondary bedroom. And it's only 20 square feet smaller. Essentially, it's getting a few more feet longer. So the large one is 1210. If I can read that correctly, 1210 by 10.7. And then the second bedroom is 10.7 by 11. And that's why they have a difference of about 20 square feet. And then this unit is mirrored to this. And it's pretty typical. I'm not saying they're exactly typical. Some of the units have 1 or 2 inches off because we try to make them all equal, and then maybe the last unit on each side has 1 less inch or so, but I didn't want to do a close-up of every single unit for a discrepancy of 1 inch for just, detailing for this meeting. Yeah.
Okay, Bill?
I got a myriad of other questions, but I don't know that there's a point.
I mean, well, I guess what's your concern? If there's a mistake, we're not trying to falsify anything or relying about square footage. If we made a mistake because we accidentally put the dimension to the wrong wall, we apologize and we'll get those all tidied up when we actually submit for permits. But these units are, when we say typical, we're an approximation in terms of plus minus a square foot, 1 inch, you know. Things may shift during construction. There's columns not quite where I measured it and it's 2 inches over. We're not gonna have a column now in the middle of the bedroom. We're gonna shift that wall over, you know, and then when they start signing leases, we'll get the appropriate sizes of each unit exactly to the as-built dimensions, you know.
Let me ask you a general question. The
Okay.
amount of square footage
Mhm.
that you calculate for all of the units.
What's the total?
Mhm.
Is the total building, which is 15.
In other words, nowhere on the drawings is there a legend of reconciling the 16,646 square feet.
No, we didn't provide that. I mean, we have the zoning data that shows the basic information about the building, but not the breakdown of each unit or anything like that.
Well, there's no information about the aisles. The storage there is. The south aisle, no. Vestibule has 255 on the drawing. I estimated 100 for the stairs going down. There's 3 flex rooms. The separate building that is storage is 773. I calculated that to run up to about 13,735. It's still about 3,000 square feet short. So it was just a general, obvious question of reconciling the square footage, how it adds up. Those are measurements that I've
Yes.
taken off the drawing.
Yes, so I would have to double check, you know, but I'm pretty accurate that the total building's correct. And the individual, I mean, if we just do the math of, well, we don't even calculate the gray area in the main plan, which is the public area, the hallways, the vestibule, all these. We didn't calculate all those items. Obviously, that has to be provided when we submit plans for permitting, and we'll provide it then if that's. I hope that's not gonna change your decision. But I don't think there's a discrepancy. I don't think we provide all the exact information for you to calculate it
I
right
did
now.
not suggest, nor did I state that there was a discrepancy.
Okay.
I was asking you for clarification of what I'm looking at
We don't have it.
as a drawing.
Yeah, we don't have all the information to properly add that up on the plan.
Okay, let me ask you, as a real estate product, first of all, your intent, the owner's intent, the applicant's intent was to create this development for younger people, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The last couple of generations are unconventional. Articles you read, things you see on TV and anywhere on the news. They really don't have an interest in being obligated to maintain a residence. And they are more free-spirited, they're more fluid,
Mhm.
they're more mobile. And as such, I'm wondering why you have come up with a conventional apartment drawing for unconventional people. The reason I asked that is because one of the other commissioners at the last meeting identified the Hartford building, and there is a studio apartment there.
Mhm.
Now, I wish you success. However, based on the last meeting, the rent range was not compatible with what is the current rental market in Homewood. If after a period of time, you're not filling the apartments, then that becomes a problem for you, for the village. For the village, it would mean that the village would then, if you were to sell and move out of the building, the market, that would mean that the building has to find another developer to do something with that particular building. Maybe the same concept. Highest and best use is apartments,
Mhm.
but maybe the conventional drawing that you have may not be the best.
As I remember in our last meeting, I thought we considered this as unconventional because we were talking about a really small space that people, a family wouldn't typically rent out or so it actually this size is particularly well for the occupant you're describing. And it would be naturally, it would be cheaper for two people to rent a space than, for example, if you compare a studio or one bedroom to a two bedroom, you're talking about 20-30% increase versus two people sharing, you're splitting. If we do the math, you're gonna be saving quite a bit of money. Two people rent a $2,000 space versus one person just renting a $1,500 space, you know, for much less, you know, in terms of area of living space. So I don't know. I think we're in a good spot in terms of you know, entry level, you know, people looking to move out of maybe their parents' house, or they just got out of school, they need somewhere to live. Somebody just got married, somebody, you know, they're now moving out and living with their partner or whatever. I think these are all kind of optimized for that living style.
So you don't think that a building of studio apartments would be a better?
No, I
Not
think,
Homewood,
no.
Logan Square, not Homewood.
no. But again, even in those areas, people, I mean, there's a big thing now with, you know, Airbnbs and people are just renting a cubicle within the space, you know? I'm not suggesting that we go that route, but I think this is a good medium, you know, not too big, not too small, good enough for I would say an average couple. Maybe not ideal for a family of four, but okay for maybe, you know, a couple with one child or, you know, I don't know all the specifics, but I think it's in a good spot that meets.
Okay, I have no other question.
Okay.
I got nothing. Thank you for addressing all their comments.
No
I was happy reading it.
That was it. Well, I thank you for taking all of our suggestions into your new plan. I think it turned out very nice.
Thank you.
Actually, you'll have much more success renting out that size of an apartment as opposed to your first proposal. I really don't have any other questions that haven't been brought up by anybody else, to be honest with you. I wish you luck. It'll be a major undertaking, but you already know that. But it's in a good spot. In a very good spot in Homewood. You got a lot of traffic coming up and down Harwood Avenue. If nobody else has any other questions or comments, I would like to then entertain a motion for. Right. Case number 24-50.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go for the triple play. Approval of the hat trick. Approval of case.
50 and 2451.
We approved the 2451.
2451 was voted on at the last meeting and approved. That was the special use. This is the site plan, which is 2450.
Okay.
Yeah, we already approved that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Make motion for approval of case
You'll get a
24.
raise, by the way, for voting on making the motion for all three. You'll get a raise for making. the
Oh,
motion.
Thank you. Raise of nothing. Approval of case 24-50, site plan for 18240 Harwood Avenue as proposed on the drawing submitted by Lucid Engineering Services LLC dated January 8th, 2025, subject to the following condition. Number one, a structural report shall be completed, filed, and approved by the chief building inspector before the issuance of building permits, and incorporating the findings of fact into record, of which there are 8.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by member Bransky, a second by member Alfonso. Roll call, please.
Member Alfonso,
Yes.
member Bransky,
Yes.
member Cap,
Yes.
member O'Brien,
No,
member Castaneda,
Yes.
Chair Zerzaga.
Yes. Good luck to you and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Congrats. Yep, we'll be in touch with you next tomorrow. Yep, and, what that means.
Everybody have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks for your patience.
Anything else going on, Angela?
No. I don't think so. I don't think we have a meeting. Do we have a meeting scheduled for the next meeting?
Yes, we'll have to hear the variance at
No,
least.
well, they voted it
Oh,
down.
they did vote it down. Then currently, there's no business on the agenda for the 13th.
Yeah. Free, free room.
On the other day, when.
There you go.
Free
Valentine's
night.
plans.
Galentine's.
Valentine's Day,
My cousins have a Galentine's Day.
nice.
Oh, is it on Thursday?
Oh, actually,
Yeah, I'm not in the card business anymore. I don't know holidays anymore.
yeah, I don't know how many there are.
All right, if nothing else, I will then entertain a motion to adjourn unless someone has something they want to bring up.
no.
So move.
Also.
Have a motion by O'Brien. Second by member Castaneda.
All those in favor?
We did it.
Thank you all.
Here in front of me.